This is what 1,500 hours of 3D printing and 45 kilograms of filament looks like.
When we started this massive 3D printing project, everyone told me I was crazy. But ever since we picked up this Porsche Boxster 986 with the goal of transforming it into a full-blown GT3RS, we've learned so much about the art of 3D printing, and the progress has been unreal. But now we're entering the serious stage of the build, where every single decision we make could make or break the final result.
And this episode is all about the small things. Not that small thing, all right? Get your head out of the gutter. And you can really see that iconic GT3 shape coming to life. But now that we've proven the concept and figured out that this is actually going to work, it's now time to start looking at mounting some things permanently. Don't worry, we're still going to be 3D printing some things in this video because we need to start printing all of the inlays. So those iconic GT3RS vents that go in the bonnet that are on the screen right now, we need to print those. And we also need to start printing things like the vents that go right here in our rear quarters. It's the little parts like that that are going to make this thing look like a genuine GT3. But we also need to start laying the fiberglass on the back of our panels so that we can start bodyworking these things, because if you remember, on all of our panels we've only done one layer of fiberglass so far just to give them a bit of strength. But now that we're going to mount these panels permanently, we need to do the final layers of fiberglass. But first things first, we're going to head into the printing room and start printing these complicated pieces, and I think they're actually going to be quite a challenge.
It's crazy to me that we have 5 Elegoo printers set up in our room now. We're starting with the front fender vent that you can see here. That consists of 2 pieces and takes about 17 hours total print time per side. I'm printing this without any supports, so we'll see how that goes. Then we have the rear quarter vents. I'm printing that on our big Max printer in 1 piece, and that takes about 9 hours per side. Last of all, we're printing the bonnet vents in 3 pieces, and they take approximately 13 hours per side.
All right, so while those are printing, we're going to go ahead and pull these rear quarters off the car so that we can lay down the fiberglass and mount them permanently.
Currently, the rear quarters are only held on by 5 self-tapping screws, so removing them is really easy. After having the 3D printed quarters sitting on it for the past week or so in the shop, this just looks really weird to me now. But look, these wheels are a crazy fitment if we were keeping the Boxster body. Alas, we are not. But we have our rear quarter sat on the ground here. It's kind of easier to do this on the ground than it is to do it on our table like we were before, because this is just such a big piece. So we've got an axle stand here just holding it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down a bunch of fiberglass on this thing to finalize this piece. And while it's off, we're going to do a bunch of cutting on the rear quarters as well to get this thing all sorted so we can permanently mount our rear quarter. I started by filling all of the gaps that we didn't fiberglass the first time around. Then I laid 3 more coats over the whole inside of the guard for maximum strength. We'll also be fiberglassing the outside of the guard with fiberglass cloth once they're mounted to the car. I finished the guard just in time to grab some completed prints off the 3D printers. So these supports I've found are the best way to get these pieces. Oh my god, this is so stuck. To print properly. So look at that. It looks like it's all filled in, but that is all support. So once we pull that off, all of this should be looking super pretty. Look at that. That's crazy, man. I know the big pieces of the build are super cool, but these little pieces have been really hyped because these are going to make all of the difference when it comes to the overall finish of the car. Hell yeah. Removing these supports off these pieces was extremely difficult and took way longer than it should have. So that was definitely more difficult than it needed to be, but I actually learned a lesson with all of this. So it still worked perfectly fine. It was very hard to get those supports off, but it's because I made the supports too thick. So next time I'll just make them a little thinner. I think I did like 10% fill with the supports, which is apparently too thick. So I'll go down to 5% next time, or maybe even less, and that should make them a lot easier to remove. But the pieces came out super nice because we used the right supports. So our final piece of the vent is finished, and that has the thicker supports on it as well, but this has got less support, so it shouldn't be too hard to remove. But then we also have one of the vents for the rear quarter of our car. But take a look at this. It looks awesome. So these turned out super nice. I was really unsure with how this was going to print up because of the way that I laid it down and printed it. It's a very difficult shape to print, so I'm hyped that we got it right first time. Very cool. And just like that, we have our first panel fully fiberglassed and ready to be fit to the car. I must admit, it is kind of unreal seeing this thing sitting here ready to go on, finished complete. Well, kind of complete. It's complete on this side, needs a lot of bodywork on the other side, but while that is drying, we're gonna go ahead and tackle our rear quarters. So we need to cut these for the clearance for our new wheels. By the way, I just got sent a picture from Artka Wheels of the new wheels. They are absolutely insane. I'm gonna keep it a secret from you guys, but it'll be maybe the next video or the video after. But honestly, it's like the most insane setup I've ever seen. Because we have a Boxster and we're turning it into a GT3, it means we can run really, really aggressive looking wheels to fill that gap. Whereas on a GT3, you can't run very aggressive wheels because the track width of the car is already so wide. So they have a positive offset wheel. Our new wheels are negative offset. They're insane. The concave in the dish, I absolutely cannot wait to show you guys. I'm headed to Japan on Monday to go drifting for a week at Ibisu, but those wheels will turn up when I get back. By the way, while you're watching this right now, I'm actually in Japan. I've made this video for you guys. I've worked as hard as I can so that I could get a video up while I was in Japan so we could stick to the schedule. So if you feel like subscribing, hit that subscribe button. It really supports me. I'm working as hard as I can for you guys to bring you this content. But the rear quarters. So basically on any car where you add a wide body, you basically chop away the quarters on the stock car to make sure that the car can accept the new bigger wheels but also go lower, because as you can see right now, these wheels are pretty aggressive but not as aggressive as what our new wheels will be, and the guard is definitely going to immediately hit the tire when you accelerate. So we're going to cut all the way up here. We're going to do it super tidy, then we're going to reseal that so that looks all nice. Then we can fit our complete rear quarters and panel bond them on for the final time.
We remove the rear bar as we're going to finish fiberglassing it, and it gives us easier access to the rear guards.
How good does our bash bar look with the rear bumper off? Woz has killed it with this. So hyped.
We use a marker to draw out a new higher line for our cuts.
Time to get cutting.
Before cutting the outer layer of the skin off the guard. Then we cut slits into the inner skin, hammer them up, remove the paint, and tack all of the pieces of both skins back together.
Now all we do is chop these pieces off, tidy it all up, seal it, and we have a nice, tidy, chopped guard. And last but not least, we seal it all off with this sealant. We are going to end up sealing all of this stuff off from the weather once we've got everything on permanently. We'll fill it all with expander foam, paint everything. But for now, let's seal the guard with this.
Laying the sealant is always the most satisfying part of this process.
So we've got the wheel back on now, and you can see we have heaps of clearance there, which is fantastic. Also, the shape of the guards on this car made it really easy to pull the second skin up to the first skin, which is really nice.
And after all of that work, Warwick came into the workshop and said I hadn't cut the guards high enough, so he redid the whole thing.
So we went way higher on this side, and now I see it, I totally agree with him. It's better to cut more away so we have more clearance when we put our 21-inch wheels on the rear, then cut less away like on this side and then end up not having enough clearance. It doesn't look like much on camera, but in person it's way more. So you can see Warwick has marked higher up in the spot where we need to cut this side, so it sucks that we have to do this side again. But it's better to get it done now than realize we've made a mistake later and have to try and do it underneath our 3D printed guards. And while Warwick was doing that, I have been on a fiberglassing rampage. I've gone ahead and final fiberglassed our rear bumper, so I added a whole lot more fiberglass there. I fiberglassed our ducktail spoiler, but on this one, I decided to test out our fiberglass cloth instead of the mat, and this was really nice to lay. As you can see, obviously the ducktail spoiler isn't super important because it's not structural, it's just a nice vanity piece, so it's a good piece to test the cloth out on and see how it goes basically. And so far I'm really happy with it, but we have to wait to see how it dries. I also went ahead and fiberglassed our other rear quarter, so now we have both of them all done. But I think what I'm going to do on the rear quarters before I put them back on the car, I'm going to add another layer of fiberglass cloth on top of the mat that we have there before we put it back on the car. So that'll be 4 layers of fiberglass on the inner of our rear guards. They're very important pieces of the car. We want them to be nice and strong, and then of course we're going to fiberglass the outside of those as well. So in theory it should all be super strong once we're finished, but now the last piece has finished printing on the 3D printers so that we can go ahead and start putting our vents together. Fender vent number 1 and half of fender vent number 2. When I came in to check on these, I thought that I printed 2 of the same piece and I was kind of gutted, but then I realized that they're the opposite sides and I did exactly what I meant to do. So this is the mirrored version of this. Look at this, it's all finished. Oh, she's still quite hot. This is the last piece of the puzzle that we needed. I'm so hyped. Also, I've got some super secret pieces printing on our printers right now, but that is for the next episode. Let's go ahead and see if you can guess in the comments what that piece is right there. I'll give you a hint. It's definitely the most showy piece of the whole GT3RS.
Believe it or not, the total print time for all of these vents was 79 hours. I think that's due to all of the intricate shapes within the pieces.
So here we have it. All of the vents from our GT 3D printed and ready to be put together. Now this part I'm really intrigued about because these parts are a perfect candidate for us to test how the bodywork is going to play out on a bigger scale for this car. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these pieces together, then we're going to bodywork one of them and we're going to see if we can get that nice satin black factory look from these vents. In my experience, it's always the little things that really bring these builds to life and takes them to a whole another level. So if we can get these looking super accurate, it's really going to elevate our build. All right, let's start with our fender vents here. Basically, we're just going to join these on the back with our plastic welds, and then on the front, we'll run our glue around because I don't want any kind of plastic welds on the front. That'll just make our bodywork harder for us. So we'll lay down the first tack. And while that's drying, we have the opportunity to kind of move it around and get it in place nicely before the tack dries. Take a look around the front, make sure it's nice and accurate, which it is, when we start tacking the rest of it. Throw a bunch of tacks on there. Looks like we've nailed this one. Beautiful. So that looks absolutely fantastic, lined up perfectly. So now I'll just chuck some glue down these seams. The Loctite 406, not sponsored, but the stuff is just so damn good. I wish it was sponsored, that'd be awesome. Loctite, if you're watching, hit me up. Slide into my DMs. The stuff's awesome because it's really like liquidy, so it's not super thick, so it flows into the joins really nicely. So you kind of just put a bit in and it'll just flow. You can watch it flow all the way down. It's kind of cool. So that's vent number 1 done. We're going to move on to one of the bonnet vents now. They're the ones that I'm most excited about because these, honestly, they're going to take the bonnet to a whole new level.
It's still crazy to me that we're already printing and assembling the final pieces to this whole 3D printing puzzle. It seems like just yesterday we started this project. But you know what they say? Time flies when you're 3D printing.
So our vents are now fully assembled and ready for some bodywork, and I'm really happy with how they all came together. These bonnet vents look so freaking cool. I can't wait to fit them, but we've got to do that at the end of the video because we've got a couple more things, obviously, we need to do to the car. But now we're going to test out some bodywork. We're going to do that on one of these rear vents, mostly because they're the easiest pieces that we can kind of bodywork quickly just to test it out and see if it's going to work. These other pieces have a lot of hours that need to be put into them to make them perfect, basically, so we'll use the rear vents today. So we're going to start with some really harsh 60 grit sandpaper just to get all of the high spots down on the vents. Then we're going to lay down some spray putty and see how well that fills all the 3D printed layers.
The 60 grit sandpaper worked really well, but as you're about to see, I completely underestimated just how much work it's going to take to get these things nice and smooth. I quickly realized we needed some supplies, so we head down to our local Autobahn.
Who's this guy? What's that guy doing? Oh, good car though. So we are down here at Autobahn Moorabbin. We're grabbing a couple of things we need, but we're not exactly sure what we need. We're thinking maybe we'll do this high fill primer and putty in one. This hopefully will fill all of the layers of the 3D printing and smooth it out nicely.
We also grabbed some plastic primer and plastic paint and we were good to go.
All right, time to give this spray putty a try and see if it works.
After spraying on a couple of coats, I quickly realized that this was going to be a lot harder than initially expected.
Well, I completely underestimated how long this is going to take. It is going to work. Like, it's starting to get rid of the 3D printed lines, but you can still see a bunch of them in there. That's only like 2 coats, but you have to wait a long time for this to dry before you can sand it. We don't have a long time because I'm headed to Japan on Monday. By the way, I'm going to drop videos of us in Japan on the V2 channel, so jump over there if you want to watch us and all of our antics in Japan. We won't be able to get a vent finished in this episode. That's all good. We'll do it in a future episode. I kind of got ahead of myself anyway. Also, the putty that I got, it's actually primer and putty, so this is a little thinner than I thought it would be because you can buy just spray putty in a can. That's thicker and that'll take care of the 3D printed lines much easier, but I'm fully confident that we can get this looking perfect. So instead of that, we're going to move on to putting the quarters
back onto the car. Both rear quarters are cut and sealed now, nice and high, so that we'll be able to lay frame with the airbag suspension if we end up putting airbags in it. I'm like 99% sure I'm going to. I know people will have certain opinions about airbag setups in this car in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm always open to criticism and advice. Nonetheless, we've done pretty much everything we need to do on the car now. I love it in its raw form. It looks so freaking cool. But we can permanently panel bond our rear quarters onto the car now, which is a pretty significant part of the build.
I've gone ahead and roughed up all the parts where we're going to be running the panel bond so it has a nice surface to grip to. I'm also quickly going to make a piece so that we can seal this area off here. It'll be nice and flat, but I think we want to seal this off. We were just going to expand a foam, but I feel like if we have the option, let's put a piece over here. We'll expand a foam all in here.
But anyway, let's go ahead and fit our rear quarters.
We're recycling the old bonnet skin to cut out pieces that we can use to seal up the holes in the rear quarters. We're simply panel bonding the piece on and using self-tapping screws to hold it down. This section will be hidden under the new panel, so it doesn't have to look pretty, it just has to be sealed. Now's the real nerve-wracking part. As this quarter's going on permanently, we have to absolutely nail the positioning, and there's no turning back from here. We spent a bunch of time triple checking and making sure it was in the perfect position before inserting the self-tapping screws. We reinstalled the rear bumper to make sure we had the quarter alignment perfect.
So the rear quarter is officially permanently mounted to the car.
And I've got to say, it went even better than expected. So it's all panel bonded all the way down, but look at the line. Everything matches up super nice, which I'm really happy with. So if you can see the line here, look how freaking good that all looks. So I'm really happy. The side skirt, everything, all of this is going to be super easy now to kind of bodywork and match up to the body of the car and kind of finalize.
In true YouTuber fashion, we're only going to get one side done in this video because honestly, I'm cutting it so close. I need to edit this video, then we're heading straight to Japan on Monday. It's Saturday right now, so I only have tomorrow to finish this edit for you guys.
But of course, we can't leave this without putting the vents that we finished into the car. And as you can see here, I was smart and I overlaid the fiberglass here so that we can trim this down, and this is the lip that the vent is going to sit on, otherwise the vent would just slip straight through the hole.
I shaved off the excess fiberglass around the hole so we could test fit the vent.
So now this should just fit nicely in here. Of course, we've got our trusty duct tape to hold it in for now, but look at that. Boom. Man, I love 3D printing. That is so good. Happy as with the fitment.
That is just absolutely unreal.
Also, I'm sorry to all you OCD people here that, yeah, we didn't put this triangle part in yet. I was just going to bodywork over it because it's like a tiny piece that you can print for the fender, but Fiberglass Bog will just switch over that in 2 seconds and that will be nice and good as new, so yeah.
Fender vent number 2.
Once again, the fitment of these 3D printed pieces is absolutely spot on. That looks freaking awesome, and that's in its most raw form as well. So imagine all bodywork. That is just sick.
And of course, last but not least, we need to fit these bonnet vents, and you aren't even ready for how good these look. Number 1. And number 2. That's crazy. No.
It's honestly crazy to think that not too long ago, building something like this was completely out of reach for the average person. Supercar parts were exclusive, expensive, and basically untouchable. But now, with a bit of creativity, patience, and a 3D printer, we're literally making our own supercar piece by piece.
So if you use your imagination and pretend the duct tape isn't holding the vents in,
that looks absolutely freaking awesome. How good. They fit really nicely, the way they sit perfectly like in there in the bonnet. So once they're actually mounted properly, they're gonna look really good. But yeah, couldn't be happier with those. Massive shout out to Ryan from Fat Lip Collective who modified these files for me because these fins were just sitting in free air in the old files, whereas in the new ones now he's modified them so they actually print to be all within one piece, which is really nice. But yeah, couldn't be happier with that. absolutely awesome.
And like I said at the start of the video, having the small things like the vents done and done properly in this car are what's going to take it to the next level. And I really think that we've absolutely nailed it. With a bit of bodywork, these vents are going to turn out absolutely amazing.
But this thing is just looking so complete. Like it's actually got major GT3 vibes.
And guess what? In the next video, we're doing the wing. And honestly, we've been putting an insane amount of effort into it behind the scenes. You aren't even ready for this one. It's going to be insane. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I'm off to Japan. Peace. Bye.